Hi, it's Paula from Pola Quilting. Welcome back to my channel. If you've seen my last tutorial, you know I've been using those kind of shirt strips, 1.5 inch, 1.5 inch, 2.5 inch sewn together to make my borders, or the floating half hexi block. And I had some left over, so I thought I would just cut it into squares and sew them together. And they should have been 4.5 inches, but they have not been. So I mean, for the project I was using them for, the seam allowance was irrelevant because I was squaring them up anyway. But that means I cannot just cut it into 4.5 inches because I won't have a square. So I went ahead and I actually squared them up to 4 inches blocks, and I've got quite a few of those, and I thought I will make some sort of pattern out of it. And to be fair, if I just put those together, kind of like some sort of rail fence block, because you've got 3 strips, though they are not even, but doesn't matter, that will make a nice pattern already. However, I like to work with bigger blocks because it's just easier later to put all of it together. So I have had a look in my box, and I've got quite a lot of plain fabrics, and I could add any color of the strip to the side, but if I add another shirt fabric, it kind of blends in. But then again, you may like to have that effect. So what I will do, I will add one strip to the side and one strip to the bottom from the same color of the plain fabric, and that will be my block number 1. And we are doing double act today, so after I show you how I work with that one, I'll show you the second block, and then we'll put it all together. So first, like I said, because it's now 4-inch square, I cannot use my magic number theory to calculate how big those strips are going to be. I mean, the first strip obviously is going to be 4 inches long, but what about the bottom one? So I just quickly show you how I work out my measurements. That will work for any block you need to work with, where the blocks are not magic numbers, and where you're starting from something you've got cut already. So see, this is the last tutorial picture, but since I've got some space left here, let's use it up. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly draw what I want to achieve. So I want my square here, I want the strip here, and I want the strip here. That's how I want my block to look like. So I know that this square is 4 by 4, and that's unfinished, and I'm just going to put it in the brackets. That means that if I have sewn those blocks together, I would have had 3.5 by 3.5 square. This I know is 1.5 unfinished wide, because I know what the dimension is, and I know I need to have it 4 because the length of this square unfinished is 4. But if I sew it all together and link it with something else, I will have, and again I'll put unfinished dimensions in the brackets, so at the top I will write, if I sew it all together, I will have 1 by 3.5 inch. And those two are going to be sewn before I add the third dimension. So what I want to figure out, how long that is going to be. So if I have sewn those two pieces together, I would have had 3.5 plus 1, so that's 4.5, and I always add 1/2 inch for the seam allowances. So that means the strip at the bottom I need to cut to, again in the brackets, 5 by 1.5, and that will give me finished 4.5 times 1. Okay, so that's what I think I should do. Let's cut some pieces, see if they match. Okay, so let's start with this green, because it's quite nice deep, and I've got a little bit more piece here, and like I said, I want to have both of those strips in the same color. So I will need, I folded it because it's long enough, and I just need to make sure I will cut those lengths from the one strip, so I know I've got enough for a block, and actually I will have 2 because it's folded. So as per my measurements, the first strip I will need to cut to 4 in a length. I will just make that side nice and straight, and then I know I need to have a 4-inch length. Okay, so that's my shorter piece here, so that will go at the bottom. So that's my first strip, 4 inches. That was easy because that's the width of my block. And then the second one, I said I would like to have, let me just put some in it. I said I need to cut it to 5 inches. Okay, so what I will do now, I will quickly take 2 of my blocks. Let's take this one and let's take this one. So I will first sew those 2 pieces at the bottom, and then those 2 pieces at the side. Now, if my measurements are okay, I will just crack on and, you know, cut all of my strips pieces, as many blocks I want to make that way. And it's a very nice project to work as a chain piecing, because you will just chain piece all of those beads together, as many as you've got, and then you will add the side piece. Okay, so let's sew it together. So with this method of kind of calculating dimensions, it doesn't matter how big the block is and how many pieces the block would have had. I would just work around that center piece outside to calculate all of those measurements. Okay, so I won't even take it to the ironing board. I will just open it up and see if this piece will match. And it does! So my measurement, my calculations was right, so I can again quickly chain piece those 2 together. So you do have here like kind of the beginning of the cord steps block or something like that, where you could go further around, but I thought I would just show you how easy is it really to calculate the measurements if you have something kind of drawn on the piece of paper and you know where you're starting from. Okay, so this is the block A for my pattern. And again, if I just do those blocks with different colors of the plain fabric and set them together, that will make nice pattern already. And I will do that after I show you the second block. I will obviously show you kind of selection of pictures how you can mix those blocks together, and one of that will be what I just said. Okay, so let me show you the block number 2 I will be doing. So that's the block 1, and then let's take some squares, and for that, oh, this one is not trimmed yet, so let's just take this one. So what I want to use again for this one is, I've got actual 4.5-inch squares here cut from my scraps, and this is again shirt fabric, because I'm doing the shirt quilt here. And what I want to pick is possibly some of those little bit more plain fabrics here, where the design is not so obvious that it's a stripe or, you know, gingham or something else. So, but this one actually is quite nice too. I can take this green one. Okay, let's just make 2. But what I will try to choose, like I said, something what looks a little bit more plain, like, you know, actual plain fabric. And if I had plain shirts, I would have used them as well. I might have some, I will have a look in the pile later. So what I want to do, I could trim that square before to 4 inches, but I don't have to if I don't want to. I will just put it on top of this square, and I will sew all around, and obviously I'm using the smaller square as a guide where the seam is going to be. I backstitch here because I overshoot a little bit. I mean, you can overshoot and just go back and start from the quarter on the other side, that's not a problem. I just wanted to do it in one move. Take just scissors now and kind of trim that side here. It doesn't have to be, you know, perfect. You can use a rotary cutter if you want as well. just to trim it so it doesn't stick out too much. And if you have seen some of my tutorials before, you can kind of probably guess what I will do next. So this method is my favorite method of making whatever I kind of put inside, make it on diagonal. That's one. And to make the block bigger, that's two. And kind of add a little bit more interest to the block as well. And then you have a secondary kind of pattern coming out from it as well. So I'm turning it to the side of my plain fabric. And I will just use a ruler to draw line from one side to another on diagonal. I'm just using pencil, you can use anything, we'll be cutting on that line anyways, no problem. And the line is on diagonal, but it's between these actual stitches rather than the corners here, because that corner here may be wonky, but your stitches are, the corner of your stitches is the direction you want to go for. Okay, then I will just lift that top layer of the fabric and I will snip where the crosses are meeting in the middle slightly. If you go a little bit outside the line, don't worry, we will be trimming it anyway. And you just want to cut it, just make sure you get to that point where the seam is, so we can open those flaps nice and to the full. Okay, and one more, and let's just repeat it on this side. So again, I'm lifting up the top fabric, I don't want to cut the back where the cross is, where the lines are meeting. I'm just gonna snip and then I can cut through. I really like this method, it's just so quick, so easy, very user friendly, because we'll be squaring it up. So even if something was not stitched very straight, you will not even see that. Okay, I'll take it to the ironing board, make it nice and flat. Depend on the fabric you're using. If the fabric is a little bit flimsy and you know it's not easy to work with, because like a shirt fabric sometimes, I do use a spray starch. You just make it nice and sturdy to work with. So our block, this one is 5 inches. Can I cut 5 inches from here? Probably not yet. So let's cut 4.5 inch from that. Nice 4.5, and I'm just eyeballing the center of that 4.5. I'm not doing like anything complicated. So my 4.5 inch line is here and here, so I'm just trying to make it more or less in the center. You can use some like painter's tape just to narrow down. If you don't have a ruler of the size, you can just use a painter's tape to kind of make yourself the area what you will be working with. But again, if it's not like totally center squared here, I don't have a problem with that either. So I'm going for 4.5 inch block. So not a lot of cutting out, but it makes it you know, nice and straight block. And I will repeat the process. So since I've used kind of more plain fabric here, the next one I can add a little bit more, you know, with a little bit more of design on top of it. So let's say this one, or maybe let's give a little bit of different shades. So I've got some brownish color here, and I will repeat the process. So I will again sew around and cut it in the middle. Let me just square this one as well, so I've got at least 2 blocks to chain piece. So first I'm trying to align 4.5 here, more or less in the middle, and then I will look 4.5 this way. That will be okay. Once you sew it all together, even if it's something off, you will not see it that much. You know, the quilt will wrinkle and crinkle, and all of those small bits and pieces of what you can see maybe very well when it's all nice and flat, that will be all gone. So no stress there. So on this one, let's use, I've got some purples here, so let's add the purple. My shirts are really not what I've got left, you know, I've used up all of those more colorful ones, and what I've got left is a little bit more mellow. So it's getting harder and harder to get the combination where you have a little bit of pop of color. So I might start mixing it with other fabrics just to make a little bit of more colorful quilt. Okay, I will repeat the process here, open it up and then square to 5 inches. However, I don't think I want to have it in the center on this round. I will just have a look. And also, I would encourage you to stay till the end of this video, because apart of showing you some combinations with these blocks, I will show you how I finished my big wedding quilt. And my blocks are back. Just few hints here. Obviously in the center here you can use anything you've got. You may have some crumbs, you know, trim them to whatever size you like to start from and start adding a square in a square easy method. And you can, hint 2, you can add further squares until the size of your ruler runs out, because that's I would suggest don't go beyond the ruler you've got, the biggest ruler you've got. And if you do that, you carry on adding those squares on the squares and opening it up, trimming, and again another square, you will have nice kind of pineapple effect block. So that's very easy method of making pineapple block as well. So let's see what size of the block I can trim from that. Obviously I want a 5-inch. Yep, now I can do easily 5-inch. But the question is, do I want my 5-inch in the middle, or I would like to center it actually. Let's turn it around. That my 5-inch is like at the very edge here, and then I will trim that. So it's not going to be even. And you know, the blocks do not always have to be even. So let's have a look how it will come out if I do it this way. This is the best thing working with scraps and, you know, cheap fabrics like fabric from the sheds, that you can experiment with different things, and if it doesn't work out, you just made 2 blocks you can chuck away. Okay, so it is uneven here, but we cannot yet see the proper effect with just 1 block. So I will crack on, make some more of those blocks, some of those blocks, show you individual blocks combinations, show you both blocks combination, and if you stay to the end, you will also see my big wedding quilt. So I will crack on now and I will show you how it looks. So little show of options now for block 1. While you watch, I would like to thank all of you who are watching my tutorials without skipping the advert. That is how you all support my work. And special thanks to those who bought super thanks via YouTube or bought a virtual coffee or lunch via my website. You know, every time I doubt myself, you all keep me going by commenting or clicking on likes under the tutorial. So thank you all for that. Here is block 2, and as you can see, my cutting not in the center doesn't show that much. I tried 2 layouts here and really not much difference, so don't worry about centering that much. It's just going to disappear anyway. This is the final layout I will go with my quilt. I made 8x8 layout here, and I think I need to add some extra either the same blocks or other blocks to make it into lap quilt. So be sure to watch all tutorials to the end, because as I finish my quilts I will show you how they came out. Thank you for staying till the end, and now a small slideshow on how I finished my big wedding quilt. I will have time-lapse video with few more details soon, and I will post it as well later. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and on my own website now. All details are in the description below. I will be very grateful if you subscribe and follow me on all or some of those social media, depending where you are available. October shop release will be available soon as well, so if you subscribe to my website, you will be notified immediately when it's all up and running. At the moment I only offer UK post for made items, but files with patterns are going to be available anywhere you are. So please subscribe, like I said, to be immediately notified when something new is added to the shop. Thank you for joining, thank you for watching, and see you next time.